3, 2, 1. You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We are the Real Pineapple. This is Hunter here, and I've got, he is an official member, but I'll also shout out his podcast here, the KJ and OJ podcast. We got him on loan here. Got OJ here. OJ, how you doing, sir?
Hola!
God, didn't know you spoke Spanish.
Más o menos.
I didn't take Spanish in high school, so I have no idea.
More or less.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I took French, but so we're talking about Glass today, and I will say we talk about this, the fact that sometimes we'll see, critical reception on something, we go, it seems a little weird. I cannot stress enough, and we talked about this going into the movie. The Rotten Tomatoes score on this is 36%, and the audience score is 78%. So that's a 42% difference, which is kind of absurd. So going in, I was really curious to see, was the audience more correct? Were the critics more correct? And critics were completely wrong on this. I thought this was I thought this could have really, cracked under its own weight. Wink. But honestly, I enjoyed the hell out of this, man. Kind of your thoughts going in.
Well, this falls into the same thing as Last Jedi. Critics loved it, but I fucking hated it. This movie, though, is the opposite in the case where the critics are not kind to it at all. But I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
So I will say, another plug here, go on the KJ and OJ podcast on SoundCloud and listen. I think it's about 2.5 hours, your guys' review for Last Jedi.
It's longer than the movie.
But honest to God, it is worth it to hear OJ just, the masterclass of just hatred. It's similar to how I feel for Tyler Perry movie. Like, you listen to it and you go, man, OJ really didn't like The Last Jedi.
Really didn't. But critics love it, though.
They do. And the thing is, I fall in the middle. Like, I thought it was me and Alea went and saw it, and we just left the theater. We went, okay, Yoda was there, which was cool.
That's about it, though.
You get the great Jedi mind trick at the end. That actually bumped it up a half grade for me. I thought that was just a cool, like, oh shit. But yeah, Rogue One's way better. Solo's better than it, and people didn't. The critics kind of shit on Solo.
Yeah. So you could definitely say that Glass follows more under a Solo line than anything else.
But I just find that fascinating, though, because I left Solo and went, that was an absolute blast. Why didn't more critics like that? And I actually went back. I know you haven't done it yet. I went back and watched The Last Jedi start to finish, and I just went, I don't get why people love this so much.
Well, I've tried, though.
You have, yeah.
I just can't get through it.
I think that says something right there. You just can't.
I really can't.
You just can't find a way to get through it. But so on our channel, we reviewed Split when it first came out. Go check out that review if you haven't. I'm a huge fan of Split, and we actually just uploaded Unbreakable 2. So we talked about that. Huge fan of Unbreakable 2. So going into this had a lot to live up to. I will say it is the weakest out of the three, but at the same time, that's not a bad thing. It's just because the first two are so great that almost by proxy, this had to be the worst out of three. But this is a satisfying conclusion to me, which I go, okay, like this wrapped up things well, while also maybe setting up for more sequels, perhaps, but we'll get there. So the movie starts off with Patricia, played by one of my man crushes, James McAvoy, who is just that dude. He is just a treasure, and he's Scottish, right? I think he's I'm 99% sure he's Scottish. Yeah. I could have sworn, but he's definitely not from here. Hashtag build a wall. But no, but McAvoy is He's fucking wonderful. Yeah, he's from Glasgow. There you go. Yeah, but he's great in this. And so the movie opens up with Patricia. He's got, or she's got, what, I want to say it's five girls, maybe? 4 or 5 girls.
4 or 5.
Handcuffed to a pipe just in this, like, old factory. And he's doing the whole, which of you would like a PB in jail? Like, even the fact he's asking him for food, it's just really unnerving just to open the movie. And I went, okay, this is really quite creepy. And then it cuts to Bruce Willis as David Dunn, who I talked about on your guys' review of this. It's weird to see Bruce Willis in something good, because this feels like it's been it's been a while. It has been a while. I mean, there was that point where, he had like Pulp Fiction and, the Die Hard movies. And I actually like Red. Not the second one so much, but he did like Moonrise Kingdom. Like, he's done some stuff, but it's been, outside the glorified, and they are glorified cameos in those Expendable movies, since 2012, back when he did Looper, it's been a lot of crap. So let me just go through some of the stuff that he's done. Death Wish, not great. Oh god. Once Upon a Time in Venice, not great. Vice, not great. A Dame to Kill For, not great. I love the first Sin City, second one, meh. G.I. Joe Retaliation, A Good Day to Die Hard.
I was just going to say he was the best part of G.I. Joe Retaliation, in my opinion.
I mean, that's fair, but, at the same time, it's like being the best thing in a piece of crap doesn't really...
I get that. I do.
But I will give you that, though. He was the best part. Like, when like when he's in the back of the car and he's shooting the gun, I was like, okay, like, this kind of works, but it's still... but Bruce Willis has been a lot of crap, but... Watching this, I went, oh my god, he's acting, he's emoting, he doesn't look really sad, like he's already cashed a check in his mind. I was like, this is all fucking amazing. And so pretty early on, and I'd like to give you credit for this, because we talked about this off mic, you were saying the fight scene early on in that factory between David and the Beast, you said that was probably at the beginning of the movie, and congrats, you nail on the head. You were totally right. It's the beginning of the movie, and it leads to them getting captured by Sarah Paulson's Dr. Ellie Staple. So I'll say this about Sarah Paulson: I really like her in so much shit that she does. She did this movie Carol with Rooney Mara, where she's like in a lesbian relation, like begins this lesbian affair with Rooney Mara. I love that movie. Ocean's 8. Which I saw this past year. She was great in that. I hate her in 12 Years a Slave, but she's great in it. She's been in a lot of stuff that I've really enjoyed the last 5 years. The problem is when I see when I see Sarah Paulson, I'm almost waiting for her to be terrible. Not like terrible acting wise, but like her character is terrible. And so when I saw her, I went, I don't know what it is about you, but I don't trust it. It's something about you that just sets me off, and we'll get there. And I will say that my suspicions were very well warranted as far as her being terrible. So she basically takes him to this not an insane asylum. What do you call it? Like a psych ward?
Yeah, it's a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, I mean, they're not saying like, hey, you're crazy, but you're, what would you say, quote, disturbed, unquote, maybe, like...
I would say, the crazy, like, I mean, some of the things they show at the end where they're having the, so, like, you notice towards the end of the movie, there's a spot where she tells the orderlies to keep the patients in their rooms, and the patients do that. Granted, it's a bit of a trope when addressing mental illness, and especially, like, on a very visual scale, they are doing that crazy shuffle, as I like to call it, where they're literally shuffling their feet around and that kind of thing to show that they're not all there with their faculties. So I would definitely say it hinges on the crazy.
That's fair. I think what's interesting about it, though, is that Samuel L. Jackson as Elijah Price, Mr. Glass, he barely says a word the first 2/3 of the movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is quiet, and so he's having to give probably the most difficult performance because he just isn't, he's having to just emote. And I think people don't give Samuel Jackson enough credit, because he's been looking like a bald pirate for the last 10 years playing Nick Fury, or he just yelled, motherfucker. That's what that's what you think of with him.
But nobody yells motherfucker quite like him.
Very true. That is very true. But he's a damn good actor, and I know a lot of people don't love this movie. You're wrong. I love The Hitman's Bodyguard. I think that movie's fucking hilarious. But he's been in a lot of shit I've really enjoyed, especially the last decade. We won't count Old Boy because that wasn't great, but he did his best, But and I loved him in that RoboCop remake. I thought he was actually, him and Michael Keaton were actually my favorite parts of it, actually.
I really like that movie in general, so I have a lot of things to like about it, but his performance is one that kind of really rooted it back towards that original one, so.
Yeah. So what's interesting about the movie is that you see the part in the trailer where Elijah, Kevin Crumb, and then David Dunn are all in the room, and Dr. Ellie Staples kind of asking him, convince me that that you're not crazy. And I will say, how do I put this? As someone who's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, I believe, I think Hollywood puts out a movie every maybe 2 or 3 years. That's basically the government kind of going hey, this exists, but wink, Hollywood. The first time I saw Men in Black, I was like, yep, there's no part of me that doesn't believe that some of this exists. It's especially the whole deneuralizing thing. I went, yeah, I can see that. That's basically what lobotomy is. So I'm like, okay, mobile lobotomy? Yeah, we probably have that somewhere. So when she's pretty much calling them crazy, I went, yeah, I think you're crazy. I think you're trying to rationalize this scientifically. And I really do believe that there's just stuff that occurs that can't be explained. I mean, Unsolved Mysteries is a perfect example of that. Yep. Which they're bringing back, by the way. Hell yeah, I'm stoked for that. I love me some also Unsolved Mysteries.
Won't be seen without Robert Stack, though.
True. I'm curious what they'll get. Should be.
Who's the creepiest guy you could get to host that thing?
I don't know. I mean, let me think. Mike Pence is busy.
Well, he's not a TV personality. He's a real deal scary.
Yeah, barely has a personality. But,
also true.
Yeah, I don't know who you'd get to host that. That's a really good point, because I forgot he had passed on.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know who you get to host that. I'll have to think about that. But it is interesting because Sarah Paulson really is trying to convince them that it's all in their heads. And I think one of my few complaints is that we've been there already, and I mean that in the sense of in Unbreakable, David, rightfully so, when Elijah is trying to convince him, look, you're special, you have these powers, and David's like, no, get away from me, crazy handicapped man, wait, stop chasing me. But there's that point where he believes it. So when Ellie brings that back up, and David doesn't fully buy in, but there's that point, and it's a great kind of face shot of Bruce Willis where he kind of looks at her, and for half a second you think he might be buying into it. And I went, don't buy into this. You've been here before. You know that. You know she's being silly, and of course where it ends up with her, it explains why. That was just a kind of a complaint I did have, because I could kind of see Kevin buying into it to an extent, but seeing David buy into it slightly, I was like, all right, I don't love that. Kind of your thoughts on that?
So there's one thing in that scene that I couldn't put my finger on it last night, and I realized it now in terms of what bothers me about that scene.
Okay.
So she's all convince me, right? You were talking about. He's chained up during that whole scene.
Yeah.
I think the chains alone is enough to convince.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, because he's the only one he's
the only one restrained.
That's a very good point.
And I'm surprised he doesn't go take off these chains and let me show you.
I'll be honest, I was sitting there thinking, you could break these.
He could.
Easily could have broken those. So I was sitting there kind of okay,
I don't think they had the water set up around him during that.
No, I don't think so. I I didn't see any hoes, or actual hoses.
The hoes were in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. but
really though, he could have broke those chains.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that he didn't, or shocked that he didn't reference them.
Yeah.
So that's just one glaring omission for me.
No, and that's totally fair. What is great though about it is that at least them being. It leads to seeing Kevin have to go through his personalities. He goes through Patricia and Dennis. In that scene, you get some Hedwig too, and that is one of my other complaints. I thought Hedwig was used a little bit too much here for comedy. That was something that I felt like, and in awkward points too. I felt like there were points where Hedwig would pop up, and I'd go, "All right, like this is supposed to be serious." And there were a couple points. We even saw this with several of our friends. I looked over at Leia at a couple points. And I went, "Why are people laughing at this? Like they shouldn't be laughing at this part, And we were in a packed theater too. People were laughing, like well, like haha. I'm like, okay, this isn't the time to laugh. Like,
well, Hedwig's an interesting personality among all of them.
Yeah,
because he's given the light so much.
Yeah,
and again, it's not because again, like, how do they say it in Split? Hedwig's given the light so much. I'm trying to remember exactly why. I mean, it's like he's like the only one that can keep Kevin out of the light.
I believe so. I believe that's what it is.
Right,
yeah.
And so you combine that with the Forever 9.
Which I love that Mr. Glass brings it up as part of his superpower later. Yeah. That was something I thought was very well done.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I could see where, even though it feels very out of place, where it makes sense for it to be there in terms of for Hedwig and those kind of funny moments, because again, a 9-year-old, they're going to think things differently than anyone else.
True.
So I get your point, but I also am like, all right, I can see why.
Okay, fair enough. The thing I love is that when you finally do hear Mr. Glass talk, there's one of the people who's working at the hospital, and I'll be honest, I'm sitting there the whole movie thinking, why are you getting so close to him? Like, he has such a low center of gravity. If he has something to stab you with, you're beyond fucked. And of course, right. That's exactly what happens. This guy. So they explain how Mr. Glass is acting. Like he's been drugged up and sedated. And what has he been like swapping out the pills or like the doses amount
with aspirin?
Yeah,
and hiding the pills in part of his wheelchair.
Yeah, which I went, that's fucking clever. I was like, right. Okay, and I was sitting there, I'm like, you are just underestimating this motherfucker. I did appreciate too that his gown was lavender.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, I'm like that's like M. Night, you get this. One guy I want to give some credit to is Spencer Treat Clark, who's Joseph Dunn, his David's son. It's the same actor.
Yep, too. Unbreakable.
Yeah, he looks good too. I was like, he's aged well, and
he's aged really well.
Yeah,
he's a good looking dude.
He is. I really hope he gets more shit. Like I was really like sitting there watching him in this. I went, man, I'm digging his performance here, and I like where his character ends up. I have made no secret about my huge crush on Taylor Joy, who I think is just gorgeous as all get out. She gets a lot more to do at the end. She's like, her and Joseph don't have a lot of screen time, but they maximize the amount of screen time that they have. I thought where you see her in Split, and she's like a broken character, and she's like looking down her feet and not looking people in the eye. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to see that her piece of shit uncle got thrown away as well. He should have, and she's had this foster family now that loves her and is nice to her, and oh my god, doesn't abuse her. What a fucking concept. And how she's, dressing up. She's dressing cute. She's definitely more confident. And when she goes to talk to Kevin, I believe she meets Dennis. I think it's Dennis first. I want to say it's Dennis. I know she talks to Dennis at a point.
Is it Dennis or Barry?
I think it's Barry. I think it's Barry, and then it transitions to...
I think it's Barry because... Wait, which one was the OCD one?
I believe that was Barry.
The one who was like, your clothes are dirty. Change your clothes.
It's
Barry, right?
I think that was Barry.
I'm fairly certain it's Barry she talks to at first.
Yeah, but when she interacts with him and then interacts with Dennis, I mean, she has this confidence that she clearly didn't have in Split. I mean, why, given her situation, why would she? And seeing that interaction, just her really standing up for herself and to the Horde as a whole, was really fascinating to watch. And that gave her a lot of time to really show out. She's a damn good actress. I really hope she gets more roles, because I've liked her in just Split and this. This is where we're getting to where I think people are either gonna love the movie, or they're gonna fall more in line with the critics. I don't think there's a middle ground here. So we get to the end of the movie, and of course, the Horde, Mr. Glass, and oh god, they call David was it the Overseer?
The Overseer, yep.
Which I went is a simple but an awesome, kind of comic book.
There was one I saw when they were listing like the newspaper headlines of the Overseer. Mm. There was another term they gave him, and I don't remember what it was, but I actually kind of liked it a little better. But I get why Overseer was chosen. It's not threatening. It's not, anything like that. It's got that protective sound to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And so, of course, the three of them get outside the hospital because, why wouldn't they? And the way that the Horde escapes Mr. Glass, I thought was so well done. There's a point where Mr. Glass, Elijah Price and Patricia have a conversation. And, he asks, may I meet the Beast? And she goes, for your sake, I hope he likes you. So when he meets the Beast, first off, you pointed out last night, the voice they gave the Beast is fucking horrifying. It's something it's some Slender Man shit. Where I was like, oh, okay, this is actually unnerving. It feels very, it almost feels like very biblical. Like as far as like the tone and just how authoritative it is.
Yeah.
I love the voice that McAvoy used.
Yeah, it's something that he did not give the Beast in Split, and man, does it work! Fucking really works.
Well, you got a little glimpse of it when he goes like you're worthy, you are like you're beautifully broken, or what have you.
Yeah,
like you get a little glimpse of the voice, but he amped it up here, and I went, okay, I'm digging this. So and there's just these points where the Beast is grunting when he sees David and like pounding his chest. So it's like, oh, okay, damn. Yep. Like, run away. So one of the big twists in this movie is that, they touch on the fact that, this is the most comic booky of the three movies by far. Unbreakable is a thriller with a comic book backdrop. Split is a horror movie with a comic book backdrop. This is really just a comic book movie with just a straight up comic book movie. I think some people will be disappointed in that. To be honest, though, M. Night's earned that at this point. He had two very intentional genre filmed with comic book backdrops. So if he wants to go more comic booky, I'm like, okay. And as and while I love something like Kick-Ass, this is something very comic booky set in the real world. This is about as real world, as you can get for a comic book film. You don't have people flying and shit. Like it's as grounded as you can make something like this. I believe. So when they escape the hospital, you get a good throwdown between David and the Beast, and the Horde, the Overseer and the Horde, which I thought was great. You get a nice hand to hand. And they're just throwing each other into vans and shit. Like, oh, okay, shit. Like, it's really intense. And just to jump back real quick, Mr. Glass, his outfit is just on point. He has this purple jacket. I went, oh, I need that purple jacket. I was like, oh, okay. He's got the little pin on his lapel, the MG. It's all blinged out because black people love their bling. But
it's very super villain. And that's what
it
needed to be. And it actually, I've read some reviews that people really knock the movie for his outfit.
Really?
Because it's too cartoon.
Oh, I didn't think so.
Well, I see their point because it's pleather and it's all all of those sort of things. It's very, out there, right? But if you actually read a comic book, how often or not, is the villain or the hero in their outfit, their uniform, unscathed the whole bit, even after a reveal, even after a comeback. They fit right into that old mold again. And it's just like, yes, it's a comic book trope, but embrace it as such and just get over it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's the same people who said Alfred Molina looked great as Doc Ock in this outfit, but
well, Bruce Willis doesn't need to don the poncho.
No,
but he does anyway.
Yeah,
like especially at that last fight, he doesn't need to don the poncho.
Yeah,
like, but again, he just does, and it's one of those things. Like it's a trope, but it works.
Yeah,
like just let it alone, leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree, and so the first twist is that there's this point where you see Joseph Googling about Kevin Crumb's dad.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they said the
Clarence
mom
is his name.
I believe so. So you see him Googling about him, and they don't show the computer screen, but he has this shocked look on his face. And I went, so actually, I always save spoilers, but I cannot express enough right now. Full spoilers. So if you have not seen Glass, turn away now. Go see this movie, though, we will say, before we get to our actual final grades. So Joseph sees what he sees on the computer screen, and basically he figures out that Kevin's father was on the same train that Bruce Willis, David Dunn was on. So he was a part of the full, was it 200 people who died on that?
It was something, yeah, it was a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, of that insane amount of people who died on that train crash. So the fact is, and Mr. Glass says it perfectly, I create super people with superpowers. I went, oh, that's haunting. And there's this point, pretty much right after he says that, where the Horde goes, I thank you for what you did, but I can't trust you. And he punches Elijah in the chest. I went, oh! And then breaks his shoulder first, and then hits him in the chest. I went, oh, damn, okay. Like, this is intense. And so, Mr. Glass dies because of those, basically internal bleeding.
Yep.
He dies because of that. The Horde gets shot by a sniper from nowhere, might I add. Like, when he gets shot, you're like, oh, shit, okay. And then, the Overseer gets drowned in a puddle. So all three people get killed. I went, well, that's shitty. And you find out that stupid Sarah Paulson was a part of this organization that restores the balance. It's very Thanos sounding, might have said. She goes, well, like, we're not supposed to have this power in this organization I'm a part of. I don't think they ever say the name of the organization, by the way. I think they just...
I don't think they have to, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're curious, of course, and they could explore it later in a sequel, but, I mean, overall, they don't have to. The little tattoo on the hand is enough to show a sense of unity. But, I mean, it's an interesting concept about, like, how long they've been in place, because it sounds like a long-ass time. She even cites, 10,000 years?
Yeah.
But it sounds more like it's not even government-based is the thing.
Which is the intriguing concept.
Yeah, it feels more faith-based.
Yeah, and I'll... so this is what I will say about that. Because if you have me as a Facebook friend, I've been having arguments with some faith-based people recently. The whole concept that there is an organization, let alone a faith-based organization, it took me back to something like, honestly, like Last Crusade, where I went, yeah, I could buy that there is an organization out there that sees super-powered men and women and goes, oh yeah, we can't have this, because... quote, God, unquote, wouldn't want it, or whoever they believe in or pray to. It's a very... The twist in logic in that is surprisingly easy. You just kind of go, yeah, I can see that, actually. So, when he cites that, you go, that almost makes it more sinister because it's so realistic that something like that could exist. And then the last big twist is that there's this point you see Elijah at a computer screen. He's typing these commands. It's like Windows 95, old school, like black screen and, white letters. And so there's a point where Dr. Ellie has said, there's cameras all over the place. Like there's nowhere you can go in this hospital that you won't be seen. And as soon as they said that, I went, all right, that's clearly like, it's like a gun in a Hitchcock movie. You go, well, that's getting used at some point, So that's coming back. And basically, they rightfully so, after the whole everyone gets killed, they go, oh well, we have to erase his tapes. And Elijah, he knew if he got out, I'm sure he would have been like, cool, but he pretty much knew it was a suicide mission. So the fact they all get killed, all that footage got sent out to his mother, Casey, and Joseph Dunn. And it's really crazy that not only that they all get the footage, but you see them at the end of the movie at this train station, and you get to see the reactions of people on their phones, because, everyone's on their phones all the time anyway, and seeing that footage hit the net and go, oh crap. And I'll be honest, dude, if footage like that came out tomorrow, you could not explain that away. If you saw someone bending a bar of steel like it's nothing, you'd go, oh, well, all right. Like, it's one of those things you'd have to have, a really potentially tough conversation with yourself and go, what do I believe in? Because, it's really intense. And the movie ends about as, and I kind of use this term in kind of ironically, happy as it could, because all things considered, because we lose these three characters. I'm sad we lost all three. I was like, all right. But the justification of it at the end, I went, you know what? All right, that's fair enough. It at least warranted the deaths, if that makes sense. Because if it cut off with just them dying and not giving us that kind of back end part, I probably would have given this like a C, like a D plus, to be totally honest. Because I would have been pissed. But the fact that the movie ends where it does, I went, you know what? Okay, fair enough. So, getting to my final thoughts here, I gave it a 9 on your guys' podcast, and I'm gonna fall right in line with that here. I'm gonna give it a solid A. It is the weakest, I think, out of 3, as I mentioned earlier, but being the weakest doesn't mean that this is a bad film. And I think that the critics who are hating on this, probably the same critics who liked Aquaman, but this is way better than Aquaman, by the way, for those people. Oh my god! Like, I'm sorry. I know some people will be like, "No, it's not. It is. It's better than Aquaman." Like, just off the dialogue alone, it's better than Aquaman. But, yeah, I really enjoyed the hell out of this. This will be a first day buy for me, and Lord willing, they put out a 4K, trilogy box set. I'll definitely buy it. So yeah, this is a solid A for me. OJ, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Yeah, just a couple things I want to go over real quick. So the fight scenes. Yeah. So the two big fight scenes between the Overseer and the Beast. I love the fact that they just didn't dive into... Like, M. Night could have just easily gone, yeah, David's really strong, he's all of this, but the Beast is just stronger, so therefore he could kill him. I'm glad they don't go that route, because both fights David has with the Beast, A, he's not breaking a sweat. B, there's points where he looks bored. And that's not a bad thing. It's the whole, like, yeah, is that all you got? Like, I can get out of this. And you see, like, the Beast's finishing move is that reverse bear hug, right?
Yeah.
You see him put it all in for David in the very beginning.
Yep.
And other personalities have doubt about the Beast as an after effect. Yep. And I just love that from, like, just their faith is shaken. Because, and Patricia, she's like, where's the man in the poncho? Where, clearly she's afraid.
Yeah.
So I just love every aspect about that. And I love the fight scenes in this. Like, it's very rooted. The more I got thinking about it, I was going to knock it down a little bit more and maybe even amend my grade on the fly. But going back to the scene with David, Kevin, and what's Glass's real name again? Elijah, thank you. I wanted to call him Isaiah. I'm like, I know that's not right.
Yeah, too biblical, too.
Too biblical.
Well, Elijah did, but sorry, go ahead.
But still, though, the scene where they're all three together and David's the only one under restraint. The reason I'm leaning on, and I wish they would have just said it, like, the scene at the very end when David's about to be drowned in the puddle. She's talking to him, and she has him take his hand, and like where she basically reveals to David in his dying moments that yes, super people are real, and we're here for balance, or what we feel is balance, or not even balance is a wrong term for what she feels is balance, but what really is a chokehold, as it were, on ordinary people having the ruling word as it is compared to super people, which really this is Magneto's like nightmare come to life.
Yeah, it is. That's a real good point.
But in that though, oh god, there was something. Even if she would have said this during his last moments, to where like you could have broke those chains at any time, but I nearly had you convinced you couldn't do it, because if you go back to Unbreakable, Elijah goes on and on about David and like the power of will.
Yeah.
Like what you can do, as opposed to what you can't do. And I think that would have been a very good callback. Missed opportunity. I get why maybe it's too much in that moment to like divulge.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm leaning on.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm going to give that, where I would ding it, a pass.
Okay.
McAvoy is he's the glue that holds this together.
Yeah.
And again, like I said it on my show, that I feel that the third act was written first, and then everything else was written after it to kind of make it work.
Yeah.
So to me, I have to ding it for that, because it's not quite as fluid as I would like it. I'm giving it an A-.
Okay.
I'm giving it an A-. Almost an A. Almost an A.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not exactly... it's the slightest step below an A for me. And it's like the slightest step.
I get that, because honestly, on instinct, I was going to go A- first, but just because of how I thought the ending did wrap up and went, okay, fair enough, A.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if someone would come up to me and go, like if you saying A-, I go, you know what, that's fair, because I'm right on the cusp. Like, it's the hair from dropping down a step to an A- for me. So
Agreed.
So I totally get where you're coming from. But
so, yeah, it's surprisingly good. Because this could have fallen apart 6 ways to Sunday.
Oh, God. There's about 8 different places where I went, okay, don't do this, and then it didn't. I was like, oh, okay. And, yeah, if they want to explore this continue to explore this universe, I'd be totally for it, because I think there's at least another movie's worth of stuff here where you could, explore that organization even, or...
Yeah, you could easily set up something where the organization is after Joseph, Casey, and Elijah's mom.
Easily.
Just for what they did to expose it.
Yep.
I still think it'd be an interesting concept to have one of them have some sort of power. Where they're getting used to that, and where Elijah used his own selfishness to shape a power in David Dunn before, and does so again with Kevin in this one.
Okay.
Because that's what he does.
Yep.
In both movies. With, no real connection in Split until the very end. But where the power being the power being harnessed for something positive as opposed to something selfish or any of that. Like, you could make Casey an empath, honestly, very easily.
Yeah.
Especially with how she has that real strong effect on Kevin. Now, granted, yeah, she's doing the whole Kevin Wendell Crumb bit to, to shake him, But still, though, that's a very powerful thing, especially with how primal and unpredictable the Beast is, and how submissive a lot of the personalities are
to the Horde in general.
Yeah, to the Horde in general.
And she still has to be able to break through, though.
Exactly.
So, that's a power in itself. So.
Exactly. So I think you could easily explore that. Maybe even something with Joseph, in the sense of the question of, no matter what power you give him, you could literally give him anything. The fact that, something could be passed down as a hereditary thing, you could use that as a plot device for the organization to try to go after him and kill him alone. All sorts of different things. It's a very interesting thing they can do. And you can make all 3 characters in this movie, the primary 3, martyrs.
Yeah.
including Glass. You could easily make him a martyr for what he did. And therefore, now, is he really a villain? Yes, he killed so many people, but it's now he becomes Magneto.
Yeah.
Magneto does some terrible things, but you can argue justification on any of it for how mutants are treated in the X-Men universe.
Yeah.
So you could argue the same thing in this, and it works exceptionally well. So if I'm M. Night, maybe you give this a couple-year break, make another movie. Then I'd dive back in.
Yeah. I think within 5 years we'll at least get an announcement of him saying I'm going to go back to this universe.
I hope so.
I would not.
It took a long time to go back the first time. So,
yes, it did.
I'll say this though. I think M. Night needs to bet on himself more than not.
Yeah.
Like we touched on it super briefly last night. I think I would love to see him write and direct an episode of the new Twilight Zone.
I agree with that.
I would love that. And then, the new Twilight Zone, that's going to be a hard one to do because, I think you have to do some remakes of old episodes. I think you have to.
Agreed.
Not many, though. I would try to stay away from that as much as possible.
Do more original stuff.
Yeah, but give M. Night an original.
Yeah.
Give him an original. And I would stay away from just some other just established properties. Everyone goes back to how he did Last Airbender. I've done some reading on that, and it sounds like the studio forced his hand in that he didn't even really want to do it.
Yeah.
He wrote a draft for Indiana Jones 4 many years ago. I would love to have read that. But I think Hollywood needs to start embracing M. Night a lot more.
No, the treatment he got with Last Airbender reminds me of a lot of Gavin Hood with X-Men Origins Wolverine, because then he comes out and does Ender's Game and go, oh, Ender's Game is actually a pretty good movie. And it's like, yep. I feel like his hands were tied because of the sheer just massiveness of directing a Wolverine film. So and people forget, Christopher Nolan, Warner Brothers took kind of a shot on Batman because Batman was such a damaged property. So Nolan, they kind of went, you can do a Batman movie, but the shackles are on a little bit, but he still got to kind of encompass his vision. So after that did so well, they let the shackles off for Dark Knight, and then of course the rest is history. So it's an interesting concept that maybe just M. Night was, like you said, maybe he was just shackled so much by Last Airbender, he couldn't do what he thought, what is necessary to make that film as great as it needed to be.
Yeah,
it wasn't, of course, but I think he does need. I think if he were to do a TV show, like if you were to do something more like smaller scale, like this, like honestly, this new Mutants movie that's coming out, I'm not excited about it, but I think if that was a TV show and M. Night was doing it with that darker tone, I would be actually intrigued by it. Yeah. As it stands now, I'm not excited for it, but yeah. So, guys, have you seen Glass? Let us know what you thought in the comments below. OJ, where can I find you, sir?
You can find me in a couple different spots. My personal Twitter is at the O to the J. That is THE, the letter O, the number 2, THE, and the letter J again. And of course, you can find me and my partner KJ on our shared Twitter account. That is at KJ and OJ spelled out. That's KJAND OJ. And you can also find me on Twitch. I stream a lot these days. That's twitch.tv/O to the J. That's where you can find me.
Boom. And you can find yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Colin on Twitter at TheRealO'Neill. You can follow our other colleague Scott on Twitter at Nearman1. And you can like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple and follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music at The Real Pineapple. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this weekend for Won't You Be My Neighbor, finally. I keep talking about how we're going to review that, and damn it, we're doing it this weekend. We'll also have a review up for On the Basis of Sex, because I really wanted to see that. God, January is such a slow month. There's like nothing else. so now I can catch up on stuff I want to see. But guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.